Alright, so the Matrix. That's what we'll be talking about in this video. Now, let me move that. A lot of times, people like to say the Matrix is an illusion, or that the Matrix is not real, and what have you. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. The Matrix is real. The Matrix is the third dimension. And that's something that you have to really understand the science behind that as to why, or let me rephrase that, the spiritual science behind that as to why that is. Now, we should know by now that the third dimension ran off of time and space. You need space for matter to form some sort of object, whether it be a human being or a star or or what have you. Okay? And you have time. Now time, as you know, time is ran off of numbers. We base most of the things in our entire life off of time. We have a time that we have to get up. We have a time that we have to get up or to get up and go to work. We have a time to eat, whether that be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We base things off of time. You know, with this routine schedule that we develop over time, and then we just end up pretty much repeating the same thing day after day. Maybe a little change up here and there, but everything is basically and solely based off of time. Okay, which when we look at time, what we're looking at is we're looking at these numbers, whether it be on a digital clock or whether it be on an analog clock. Now I know some of you feel when time is moving faster and when time is moving not moving faster. Now, you don't have to be having fun for time to be going by fast. You could be going by doing your everyday thing that you always do, and for some reason time seems like it's going faster. It's not like you're doing anything any different than than what you normally do. You figured that in your mind, if you do this during a certain time, and you do this every day as a routine, then eventually, you figure that it should be the same all the time. See? But sometimes it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes you go by doing your daily routine, and sometimes it feels like you just don't have enough time to do it. Okay? Because mentally you're perceiving that you are doing your normal routine on schedule, but for some reason more time has went by than what you believe. Now, how is that possible? Some days it moves faster and some days it moves slower. Some days it's never, like, it's fluctuating. It's never where you want it to be. Now, maybe in the past this has been true, but see, what's going on is mentally, okay, not physically, mentally, your mind is going beyond time. Okay, time narrowing down to 0 point. Because what you have to understand is anything outside of the third dimension does not run by time. Time is a mostly third dimensional type of thing. Fourth dimension, no. Fifth dimension, definitely not. And the higher up that you go, the less it will even exist. Now, you're here trapped inside of a body on the third dimension. Okay, and you have to understand that the reason why you're in that body is because you are in the third dimension. Okay? If you were to go into the fourth dimension in your physical body, as you are right now, sitting here, standing there, whatever, listening to this video, if you were to go into the fourth dimension right now, that would almost be like defying the natural reality of what is. Not saying that's not possible, but it would definitely be something a little new. So, with that being said, what is the third dimension? How does it get here? Is this really an illusion? And, you know, through our reality, you know, how is it that we, you know, how is everything being, you know, through our physical vision, through our physical two eyes vision, that everything is as is? Like nature, how is it that a plant or a flower grows the way that it grows? Better yet, let's look at the woman, for instance. How is it she is always on time every month? Or how is it after a certain pregnancy she's only pregnant for a certain amount of time? 9 months. 9 months. What is significant about 9? 9 is the omega, the alpha and omega. The alpha, when we're talking about numbers, I'm talking about 1. Omega being 9. Okay? Because that's the only numbers that there is. The moment you multiply anything times 9 and then add it back into itself, it always comes out as itself. It is the only number that does this. You can multiply 9 times whatever, get that number, add up those numbers, and it always equals up to 9. Because what? 9 times 9 is 81. 81. 8 plus 1 is 9. You know, and you can go on and do this with any number. You can get ridiculous with it. You know, you can get ridiculous with like 5, 6 length long numbers. Add all those up. You know, getting it down to the lowest common denominator or whatever, and it always comes out to be 9. So when we're looking at the woman and the fact that she's always, you know, when she's pregnant, the pregnancy lasts for 9 months. She's always on time during her time of the month, yada, yada, yada. Why is that? Well, let's look at the number 9, for instance, okay? There's 2 shapes, 2 normal shapes that have a degree of 9. And that's the square and the circle. They both equal 360 degrees. Now the sphere is feminine. Why is the sphere feminine? Because it has curves. It's a circle. Okay? It's a circle. Whereas the male is straight. That's masculine energy. Okay? So I'm going to bring up a diagram here real fast. Hold on a second. Yeah. Let's see. I'll bring this one up here. Okay. This thing is what is called Metatron's cube. You can't see it. It's but basically what you got here, this is probably about as full as the diagram will get in completion. Okay. Each circle that you see on this, okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Okay, there's 13 circles on this. Why? Well, if you look at 13, when we add up 13 we get 4. So we're talking about something that's beyond the third dimension. Okay, each one of these little shapes here that you see inside the circle, including the top circle, the full circle right there is female. Okay, the rest of these circles on here that are inside of the circle, remember all the circles, even the clear ones here with the shapes inside, is feminine. It's feminine energy. Okay, all the straight lines that you see on this diagram, wherever it's going, okay, that's all male energy. Now mind you, again, the square or cube, wherever, in the circle or the sphere, okay, both total both total 360 degrees, which is 9. Each one of these solids you see on here, these are, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Each one of these little, you know, the tetrahedron, the cube, the icosahedron, forgot what that one was called, but these are what are known as the Platonic solids. Each one of these Platonic solids represents an element: earth, fire, water, air. Fifth element being ether. Okay, which is that weird shape down there in the bottom right down there. Okay, and then you got the female. Okay, this is why they say that the black woman is God. If you look at nature, it makes sense because everything starts from dark matter. Okay, whether you have the same formula going on here, the fifth element is what makes it relevant. The fifth element is what makes it relevant. Okay, so, and you can find this, you could basically, when we're talking about dark matter here, you find this hidden in the Bible in there with the 666 code, which is a code for 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, which is an atom, of course. And this atom, when in its completed stage, makes carbon. Carbon is a dark element, which is a crystalline material, which is melanin, basically. Melanin, carbon, all both correlate with each other. Okay? So, a lot of knowledge I'm bringing here. Okay? You got this, notice with this whole diagram here, that it's all inside of the circle. Even the cube, okay, which is known as Metatron's cube, okay, which when we back it up a little bit more here, when you look at the cube in its three-dimensional shape, it has 12 sides. Okay, we're back to the number 12 again. 12 inches in a foot, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 disciples or whatever. 12 months in a year, 12 constellations, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. All right, which we can also bump that up to 60. 60 meaning base 60. 60 seconds in a minute. 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, which always correlates back to the 1. Okay, so when you take these two numbers together, 12 and 60, okay, you have 1260. Now divide that in 3 quadrants. You have 12 by itself, 6 by itself, and 0 by itself. Okay, 0 is space, it's matter. Okay, cool, bring that down. And you have 6, it's by itself. Remember, 6, which is ironic because when you look at the diagram here, there's 6 circles on the outside, 6 circles on the inside, and then 1 lonely circle on the very, very inside of this entire diagram. But backing it up, you bring down the 6, you bring down the 0, and then the 12. Remember, the 12 is actually a 3. So you add up the 1 and the 2 and you get 3. And then what it comes out to be, exactly 360. Okay? Which is also which equals 9. And remember, 12 is 3. When we're talking about third dimension. So the cube is a 3-dimensional reality. Now here's the thing about this whole diagram. All shapes that you see in life, from nature to the human being to just about anything, even when it comes to manifesting your thoughts, for instance, when you take your thoughts and and it basically forms itself into matter, which brings out a real object into the third dimension. I don't want to try to get too heavy on that or anything, but the cube, see, the cube is male because it's made up of 12 lines on the outside. I don't know if you can really see it on here, but it's definitely there. The cube is there. It's 3-dimensional. Okay? And inside of that is a whole bunch of other straight lines that make a whole bunch of other different shapes, like the star tetrahedron, for instance. Okay? So even in nature, when you're looking at this diagram, it needs male and female together to manifest something, to birth something. Okay? So even in nature, we need male and female together. And as we see, the square is inside of the circle, which tells you that masculine is born from the feminine. Okay? So, again, this thing being a 4 and 5 dimensional object, which they call it Metatron's cube or sacred geometry, okay, where you get your golden ratio from. It comes from this same pattern here. And when you look at your golden ratio, you look at the little side swirls on the side of a snail's a snail's shell. Sorry, it was a tongue twister there. Or if you look at a hurricane, it spins in the same way. Or if you're looking at a galaxy, our galaxy, it's the same way. Okay? Now, or some of us, like myself, at the very crown of our heads, this same swirling figure, the way our hair grows out the top of our crown, it's the shape is the same as the golden ratio. Now, I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but I know a lot of people's, or most people's, or somebody's hair grows that way. Okay? When you look at a snowflake on a microscopic level, okay, it looks like a star tetrahedron, which again is also still born from this same shape. It's inside of the cube, which means it's male. Okay? And to the lilies, to flowers, any kind of flower, a Texas 5-star, a lily, a dandelion, a sunflower, a whatever flower, a rose, a whatever flower, all have a particular shape. Even in a bug's wings, like a dragonfly, even the shape in its wings is identical to the patterns and the shapes of this diagram.